In this tutorial, we'll cover how to make well-formatted labels using tools that are free, easy to use, and just take a few minutes. Now, before we jump into the software steps, we'll talk about what you'll need before you get started. First of all, you'll need some kind of label sheet to print on. This one has 30 labels per sheet, and they cost about 27 cents per sheet. So I think that it's pretty reasonable overall. And then second, we'll need some kind of data that we want to print. And this can be images, but often it'll be something out of a spreadsheet where you'll want some kind of inventory information. The example that we'll be talking about today is from plant breeding and having like bags or plot stakes with a whole bunch of information. It's going to vary from plot to plot, for example, but anything you're inventorying, these same principles would still apply. So let's talk about the setup of your data. Every different type of data will be in its own column, and then each label that we want to make will be in its own row. And one trick that I think is really helpful is we're gonna cover how to put a QR code on here. If we wanna have a URL that links us back to some kind of a shared Google Sheet, then it's pretty easy to include that. So we can just go to our Google Sheet, right click on the cell that corresponds to that specific label that we're making, and then we can go into view more cell actions and get linked to this cell. So now I've copied that to my clipboard, and I can just paste that in. And you'll see at the end there, range equals A2. That's the one that I'm interested in. I can just double click on the bottom right of this, and that'll fill it all the way in. You could also, of course, just pull it down to the bottom. So now I'm going to have some QR code information that will link me directly back to that shared Google Sheet where I have my most important data. So I'm going to save this, and then to actually make our labels, we'll use a tool online called Avery Design and Print. So if this is your first time using Avery Design and Print, you'll probably need to log in. And then you'll be able to select the template that corresponds to the data sheet that you have. So you can just search this number. I know that mine's 5520 here, but it's basically the same as several others. And then we can select which template we want. You can see that there are a lot of options, but I tend to just typically use a horizontal, like type without any existing formatting. And then we can upload our data or media of any kind, basically. So for example, if I wanted to make some seed pack envelopes with nice images, I could just go there, click on the images, and then upload something. So image, add image, and then I could just pull this in right here. And you can see this is just something I made in PowerPoint and then hit export as a JPEG. And we can see that we already have these all ready to go to print a whole bunch of labels for these, and the printing for that can be done on just any normal computer printer. But if we want to pull in data from a spreadsheet, then I'm just going to delete that, and we'll use this import data tool. So let's start this import of the data. So I'll browse for my file. Here I have my label info. Now I don't want to make a label with my header information like this, so I'm going to uncheck this box. You can also uncheck it here, and I'll click next. And then I just decide what kind of data I want to include. So in this case, maybe I'll have plot, entry, block, row, and range. And then I can do some initial formatting here. So I could, for example, just make some little changes. I could say row here, range, and just click next and finish. And then now I can make more detailed changes. So I can change the font or the font size. for example, and continue making more edits. And you can see how this applies to not just the label that I'm making, but all of the labels. So then again, you can just continue making any kind of changes that you want. So we can make some of this bold, for example. And already we're off to a good start making some labels. But then if we want to add QR codes, for example, we can do that using this QR and barcodes tool and click add QR/barcode. And we're going to do this from a spreadsheet. We'll go next, browse for file. I saved it in that same file as earlier. Once again, I don't want to make a QR code based on this header line, so I'll uncheck that. And then I can click next. And then here, I'll change the code type to QR code. And then I will just bring over my QR code info into here. And we'll click finish. And you can see that that's placing it there. Again, I can make any other adjustments that I want. I can go back here. Maybe I want this to be a little bit bigger in text size, for example. Okay, so that looks great. And I'm pretty happy with this. So we can go to preview and print, get PDF to print. Sure, why not save this project and save it for free. Sure, I'm fine with replacing it. And then we can open that PDF, and there we go, and it's ready to print. So again, in this tutorial, we've covered how to make labels with complex formatting for free in just a few minutes. I hope it's been useful for you. Thanks for watching. See you next time.